Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Dr. Cammy and Karen Go Keto, where we are going on a ketogenic journey. Cammy and I are transitioning from a standard American diet to ketogenic carnivore diet lifestyle because it's not just about a diet. It's really about just changing your ways and taking out the carbohydrates, getting low carb, getting rid of processed foods, and eating, real meat, real whole foods. And today we are on part 5 of our 7-part series of emotional eating and how we look at it. And this number 5 is positive relationship with food. And Cammy just dropped it on me that she's never had a positive relationship with food. So let's investigate further with Cammy about that.
Hi, everybody. So, this 7-part series that we're on, which talks about our feelings and emotions around food and how learning about this can help us all eat healthier, is a good topic for me. And when I look at positive relationship with food, as far back as I can remember, I've never really had a positive relationship with food. And growing up in a family of 7 kids, I was always concerned that there may not be enough food. And there was enough food. My mother was really creative. She used to take the cans of the spaghetti that is in the can and put celery in it. Like, I think back on it and I'm like, why would you do that? But it was a great way to get your vegetables and your fiber in there. And plus it expanded it. It tripled the amount of food that could go around to everybody. And so, she was very creative and very smart in the way that she did get all of us fed. But I remember growing up and her always talking about there not being enough money. And so the money converted to me to not enough food to eat. And I remember as being as young as 8, and probably I was doing it younger than that, but I have definitely strong memories at 8 years old and on about using sugar and sweet things to soothe and comfort me. So the way that I look at food now and try to have a positive relationship with it is to look at food as a source of nutrition for my body. And this has been very, very hard in coming. This is something that I'm struggling with, even as I learn more and more and more about the ketogenic diet and how healthy it is for us. And we're getting ready for our symposium for metabolic health put on by Low Carb USA, which is coming in August in San Diego. Come and meet us in person from the 15th to the 18th. It's going to be wonderful. There's so many speakers. And the first day is all about mental health. It's going to be fabulous. But I've just continued to struggle my whole life. And so I always feel like I'm battling it.
Well, what did you say to me just a few minutes ago? Because you said I made it clear to you about how you were looking at something. Do you remember what that was that you said?
Yes, that was in our previous video when we were talking about stress management. And I was saying that my support system fell apart. And then because I wasn't implementing my support system, it fell apart. And Karen kind of made it clear to me that I kind of fell apart first and then my support system was a consequence of that. So I am in charge of how I fall apart.
But you said so we were talking about you said how you think maybe how you think about food or how you think about things in your life. But at any rate, the key is if anybody has ever done landmark education, I recommend it. Check it out. It's interesting, and you can get a lot out of it. I know Cammy was the one who introduced me to landmark education. I haven't done it since 2004, but it's lasted. And one of the things is you create your reality through your speaking. And so if you're the one who says you did not have a good relationship with food, right? You don't have a good relationship with food. And the question is, so a couple of things that you said, I don't know if it was just the last video and you said it twice, or you've said it a few times in the last few days. You refer to it as your lovely binge.
Do I really?
Yes. And so if your binge is lovely, I don't know why you'd want to get it out of your life.
Absolutely. I didn't even realize that. Yes.
Yeah.
I do know that I am needing to be more aware of my speaking and the words that come out of my mouth and what they actually mean to myself and to others. I'm very aware of that. And so I'm excited about working on that because you are right. I think the words that you speak into the world create your reality and create other people's, your relationship with others.
Right, and you refer to it as your lovely binge, and in some ways it was like off the cuff, but that's a phrase, right? You didn't say my ugly binge, you didn't say my horrible binge, you didn't say my last binge.
And it's meant to
You
be off the cuff, like, "Oh, my lovely binge," like, "Oh, yeah, how lovely was it?" I mean, it's meant to be that way, but still, that's the word that comes out, lovely. And when you
right.
think of lovely, you normally don't think of something, terrible and bad and wrong and, you
I
know
think yeah, I think by bringing sarcasm into it, it takes away a bit of the real effect of how it affects you, right? It's like it's your way of distancing it and even maybe calling it a binge. It's, say keeping off plan, not eating the foods that I said I was going to. Those are the things that's one of the reasons why I try not to say chocolate malt very often is because it triggers me and I'm sure it triggers other people into thinking, it's just like when I watch the ads for, the ice going into the glass and the sparkling soda or water or whatever, and it just makes me want to have one. It's so evocative. And in your speaking with your relationship with food, there's, paying attention and how you're going to talk about it. If you're going to talk about it at all, because the landmark education is um, words. Words disappear. So if you're saying the words, they're going to go away. So you memorialize things on paper or in video so that they don't go away. But if you continue to say the same thing, the lovely binge, the binge is always going to be lovely to you. So then you're going to be depriving yourself because now you're not going to have this loveliness in your life anymore. And
Got
so
it.
so to me, finding another way is, and having a relationship with food. I don't know if you pray over your food when you have your food, if you
Mhm.
have a meal, or, if you make a commitment to have a prayer over every piece of food that you put into your body and reconnecting with God through prayer or wherever you connect when you have prayer, then that will bring your mind to it. So if it's that double Snickers bar, hopefully you'll have a little more thought coming before you say, "Thank you so much for giving me this lovely double Snickers bar." Right?
Yeah.
Because, what comes to mind? Because that is something that helps your relationship. So the good relationship with food is a good relationship with good food and not a good relationship with bad food. You want to get that relationship with food that we don't want to consume anymore. Um, out of your speaking, and it's not in your speaking because it's not in your life, and it's not in your life because it's not in your speaking. They go circular, right? It's all connected.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a great point about, when you're talking about food or having a conversation in your mind or journaling, which would be better, right?
Right.
Because sometimes I'll think of food as being deprived. Like I'll think, oh, I I'm eating this, whatever piece of steak, but I don't get to eat the mashed potatoes with it. And that's not the way to think of it. The way to to think of it is that I'm eating this piece of steak and it's going to be healthy and nutritious for me and give me energy. And I'm not going to have to worry about how I feel afterwards. I'm going to feel so great and it's so good for me. On the conference I was at, we went out to lunch together and everybody ate something carbs. And then afterwards, they were all complaining on the way home, right as we were getting ready to hit the conference, about how they were feeling. And they're like, God, I shouldn't have eaten this. And I thought, oh, wow, I ate some green beans and some salad and some, you know, tri-tip and I felt great. So, it was obvious.
Yeah. Yeah, and that relationship with food, you can see your relationship with food, I think, by watching other people's relationships with food, right? I think there other people can serve as um, examples, whether it's a good example or a bad example.
Hmm. The other, Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I'm done.
The other thing I wanted to bring up was also about having some self compassion and some grace um, toward myself. This is something I'm working on too, because I'm very good at being a people pleaser or working on being perfect or, you know, condemning myself when I don't do it the way that I want it or the way that's the healthiest or the way that I planned it. And giving myself a little bit of compassion and grace about that allows that negative thought to kind of, or action or behavior to be washed out so that I can continue on with my journey. You know, if I continue to just berate myself or think badly about that or, you know, those kinds of things, it just continues that on. So I really like the idea of having some grace or compassion so that you can, you know, look at that, look at what you've learned, you know, and move on from that in a positive way.
Well, I think that grace and compassion are good, provided they're not delusions. Because if it's just something that you just go, oh, there goes the Snickers bar. Well, I'm going to just give myself some grace, right? No, you can't give yourself some grace. First of all, you give your grace, you you say grace in order to get grace, right? So you say your grace before you eat the Snickers bar so you can see where you're actually going with it, right? Because, we always said saying your prayer for food was called grace. You say grace. So to effectuate the grace and the compassion, that also should be in writing, right? That should actually be acknowledged and not just something that you call it afterwards, after the fact.
Right. And it's learnings. You have to get the learnings from it.
Yeah, and you have to this is a transition. This is a relationship that you've had with food that's been like this for a long time, right? So to acknowledge it and good relationships. I was with my husband for 41 years. It wasn't like it was a walk in the park for every day for 41 years. It took, it did take it took a lot of work. It took a lot of evaluation and, analysis and compassion and grace. And, you get to where you want to go when you persevere.
Amen, sister.
All right. This is part 5. We're going to move to part 6 of 7 on enhanced self awareness. So we will see you on the next one. Bye,
All
everybody.
right. Take care. Subscribe.